Hello Kinshuk, we have heard that you have cleared your NID, that is National Institute of Design. Here we are present to know about your journey, and we would also like to know that what all did you learn in this journey?
Alright. So my name is Kinshuk Agrawal and I'm from Pune. I was born in MP and brought up in Mumbai, and I've been in Pune for the past 8 years. Since my childhood, I have been into drawing and into creativity, and I've always loved to explore different, areas of creativity or try out new things every now and then. When I reached my 10th grade, it was time to choose my stream. But to my surprise, I wasn't able to, decide which stream to go for, because most of the people, it's like the general thing that either you go for sciences or you go for engineering or medical or law. But I wasn't having particularly an interest in any of these fields. I wanted to go for a field where I can get my own freedom, a field which promotes students to create their own world and not, be bounded by rules and by books, and, to do something of your own. And then I came across this field called design, where students are actually, they are told to create something from their imagination, from their viewpoint, and not just following what other people do. From the moment I came to know about this field, I realized that this is where my interest lies and it makes me happy. And from then, I started preparing for design and I started researching more about this field, and here I am right now.
So Kinshuk, you're from science background, right?
Yeah, PCM, maths along with psychology and English.
तो किंगशुक क्या आपके लिए डिफ़िकल्ट नहीं था कि आप साइंस में अच्छे हो, आपने साइंस के थ्रू आपने अपना 12th किया, तो जाहिर सी बात है आपको अपने लाइफ में ऐसे काफ़ी लोग मिले होंगे जिन्होंने आपको ये सजेशन दिया होगा कि आप साइंस में काफ़ी अच्छे हो तो आप आईआईटी की फील्ड पकड़ लेना, आप साइंस से रिलेटेड चीज़ें ही करना। कैसे लोग मिले आपको?
हाँ सर, बहुत मिले. लाइक आई थिंक इट्स अ जनरल मेंटालिटी these days that if you are a science kid, you have only two options: either you go for engineering or you go for medical. But I knew that this is like the general thing, but I'm someone who always likes to, follow her heart. I always listen to my gut. I never listen to, my brain or what other people are going to say, because I know for a fact that I'm the best one to judge myself. I know exactly what I want to do. And I know for a fact that if I don't do something that I really want, in the end, I'm just going to lose interest in what I'm doing. Because in life, you need to remember that whatever you do, it should be, your choice, not about, what other people are saying, because in the end, you are the one who is going to face it, right? People will just advise you, but in the end, it's your decision. So I did get a lot of, comments from people that, you have scored good in your academics, you're good at academics, so why not go into something academic? But there's a huge difference between having potential for something and having passion for something. And I believe that in life, you should always chase your passion, because potential might make you feel that you're good at it, but it does not make you happy from the inside. And I believe happiness is the most important in life, and all of us want it. That's what real success is.
किंगशुक, हम जानना चाहेंगे कि ऐसे कौन से लोग हैं जिन्होंने आपको यहाँ पहुँचने में मदद की, जैसे कि पेरेंट्स हैं, टीचर्स हैं, आपके दोस्त हैं, आपके इर्द गिर्द बहुत लोग हैं, क्योंकि आपके पास देखा जाए तो आर्किटेक्चर भी एज अ ऑप्शन था और डिज़ाइन भी था, तो आपने फिर भी डिज़ाइन को चुना और आप डिज़ाइन में आगे बढ़े। तो हम जानना चाहेंगे उन लोगों के बारे में जिन लोगों ने आपकी मदद की, आपको एक सही रास्ता पहचानने के लिए, एक सही करियर चूज़ करने के लिए। तो क्या आप उनके बारे में कुछ बता सकते हैं?
So like initially when I was a kid, my mom was the very first person who found out that I've got, you could say, an interest in the field of drawing. Like since my childhood, I was good at drawing. I liked drawing. I enjoyed it. So she knew that when I grow up, there's a high chance that I might go for a field which involves creativity. Because, my parents saw me grow up and they knew that I'm not really interested in memorizing books or, following rules. I've been a stubborn kid since I was, young, and I always, want to, make my own rules or, do what I want in the end. Like I like to be disciplined, but I don't like to be restricted by things every now and then. And so I knew that even if I grow up, I'll probably go for a field where I'm not bounded by any of the societal rules or any stereotypes, and not being judged by people, and just do what I like. So when I grew up, my mom knew that, I should probably go for a field in art. So she was probably thinking of, putting me in the field of fine arts. So now, as a kid, I wasn't really thinking about my career as such. I was a very, happy kid. I used to just play, enjoy my life, and I was like, we'll think about the future when it comes. So as a kid, I was just enjoying the time. But then slowly, as I grew up and I reached my high school, I started developing, interest in academics as well. So I started liking academics, specifically mathematics. It became my favorite subject in class 9, and it has been my favorite subject since then. Now, looking at this sudden shift in my interest, my mom was a bit confused that, now it's a challenge. What to do? So my father, he himself is an engineer. So initially he thought that, maybe I can do good in the field of engineering, because obviously he himself is an engineer. But even though I liked academics, but it wasn't something that I wanted to pursue in the future. I mean, I definitely wanted a field where I can use my academic knowledge as well, but not, completely abandon it as well. So fine arts, I didn't think it was an option for me. When I came across these two fields, architecture and design, in architecture, I was having a certain aptitude from the very beginning because I gave some aptitude exams in my school. Like we had this young bus group which came to our school to help us, decide which career option we want to choose. It's like a career counseling group. So there I gave the aptitude test, and I was getting a very high score in the field of architecture. So now it became a confusion whether I should be going for architecture or design. So initially, I decided I would just prepare for both. I will keep looking at what happens in both of them. And I expected, I hope that maybe in the future I'll finally be able to decide what I want to do. So when I came in class 12th, I was able to do pretty good in both designing and architecture, but I realized that I have a slightly more fun in design, because in architecture also I felt that there are rules, you need to follow certain protocols, you can't just do whatever you want, you can't be completely crazy in architecture, but in design they encourage that. So whenever I used to do design, I was never under pressure. I was, always free to do whatever I want. So I realized that even though I'm good in both of these fields, designing makes me happy. Of course, I got a lot of comments from people that, you are doing good in academics, you should go for an academic field, because people always think about what other people did. But I believe that we should create our own path and, create our own future rather than just following what other people do. So there were a lot of people who helped. My parents were there. Then I joined an institute called My Colors, where Mitesh sir was really, really helpful. He was the one who actually, motivated me to take up the field of design. He was the one who, he used to always tell me that, you can do it. Because whenever you take up a field, it's not just about, someone teaching you. There should also be someone who believes in you, because a student cannot learn just with the help of a good teacher or with the help of good material. It's also about mutual trust. If there's no one in a child's world who, sort of trusts the child or believes in the child, then the child won't be able to succeed in life, right? Because they want someone who, fills them with confidence and, with self-confidence and optimism. And so I believe this person, apart from my parents, played a very, very important role in developing my interest in design and making me believe that I can do it. Nothing can stop me. And as I keep trying and growing, I will be able to fulfill my dream to be a designer.
Okay, so you mentioned about My Colors Institute of Visual Arts, and you also mentioned about Mitesh Pradhan, yes sir. So can you just tell us something about the preparation at My Colors Institute of Visual Arts? What did you learn?
Right. So initially when I joined My Colors, I was, sort of new to the whole concept, because since my childhood I've never been to any tuitions. I've only gone to school. So whatever I did since my childhood was on my own or with my parents. So I've been always used to self-study or learning, from my mom or from my dad. So initially when I joined, I was a bit scared that, now there's going to be a third person who is going to teach me. But when I, got well versed with the teacher over there, Mitesh sir, he was so kind, he was so welcoming, and he was so encouraging. And he made me feel that I've got something, I've got a potential. Because most of the teachers, they usually try to judge the kid. The very first year the kid joins and tries to see whether the kid is good or whether the kid is not good. But this person wasn't measuring the kid's potential. What he was seeing is, what this kid has got, the spark in the kid. And this sir could see in me that I was really interested in the field, and if I keep doing it, if I keep focusing on it in the future, I will be able to do my level best. So in every walk of my life, in my 12th grade, he was there with me. Whenever I had a doubt, he was literally there for me in the midnight also. I wonder when he slept, really. Because I am a very night owl kind of a person and not a morning person. So whenever I get a doubt, it's in the midnight. And I don't expect people to answer to my questions or to my doubts in midnight because, come on, we have also got time to sleep, right? So I just felt that, this person is actually putting an effort and this person really believes in me that yes, I can do it. And looking at how much effort he was putting with me throughout the year, in night, in the day, anytime in between his classes also I used to call him. He was always there to help. He never, said no or turned down my doubts and always remembered and kept track of whatever my questions were. So, I think it's something that's important in a student-teacher relationship where the teacher is always there for the student and the student never feels that if I have a doubt, there's no one to help me. Knowing that there's someone out there who is there to support you, there to clear your doubts, and give you ideas and, you are not left helpless. That's something that, gives you a very positive kind of a mindset and a positive environment to learn and grow as an individual. So I feel that's the most important, and I was lucky that I got someone like him in my life, and I'm really grateful that whatever happened, and I hope that we continue this journey together in the future.
सो किंगशुक क्या कभी ऐसा हुआ कि इन माई कलर्स इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ विजुअल आर्ट्स you ask the question and this person is not able to answer you?
Well, usually, like if you ask me personally, a lot of people tell that whenever I ask a question, sometimes it's very confusing. So I think, yeah, I did, sometimes when I used to ask him a question, sometimes the question used to be like so, like complicated, and he used to take time, but he never turned down my question. If at all he came across a question which he does not know at the moment, he made sure he researched the question and gave me an answer. Like sometimes even I used to forget, okay, fine, I asked him this question, whoa. And then he just comes up to me and says me, okay, fine, this is the answer to your question which you asked like last week or something. So yeah, that's really impressive, and I love it, in fact. And I think that if, students ask very unique questions to their teachers also get to learn. And I could see that he was enjoying my questions also because he wasn't used to, answering such questions. So I think it was a good training session for him as well.
So Kinshuk, in designing, like to crack this exam, there are so many subjects. Your journey in My Colors Institute of Visual Arts must be around so many subjects like perspective, human anatomy, logical drawing, CAT portion, design aptitude test. So when it comes to the subject knowledge of a teacher, the way he deals, the way the person teaches you, what do you want to say about the subject knowledge which teachers have in My Colors?
Well, I would say, first of all, this teacher has got a very broad mindset. He's not like any of those other design teachers or any teachers of some other coaching institutions, where they only, aim at making sure that the students score well in an entrance exam, because scoring in an entrance exam does not really prove your creative aptitude at all, because creativity cannot be measured by anyone. Human mind is complicated, human thoughts are complicated. No one knows what's going on inside, right? So, believing in this fact that the entrance exam or clearing the entrance exam is the ultimate goal of a design teacher or any designer who is teaching his students is something that's wrong. But I think that the teacher that I got from My Colors was different. He didn't want me to just go in the entrance exam. He wanted to make sure that whatever he's teaching me, I am using it in my life. I'm getting inspired, I'm getting motivated, and I'm getting to know more about this field and, making me feel even more comfortable with the overall field. He was trying to make sure that he's able to give us all every ounce of knowledge he had to make sure that his students, stay connected with him. And I think there are way less teachers currently who actually put in these much efforts because, these days education and teaching profession has become sort of a business where people just focus upon scores or about the overall result of the institution or the pass or success rate of their kids. But the success rate of an institution is not just about how the teacher is covering the syllabus, because let's face it, design does not have a syllabus, alright? It's all about what you do. Even in entrance exams, there is no fixed answer. There is nothing called right or wrong in creative aptitude. And the examiner who is checking your paper, it might depend upon the personal preference of the examiner also, so you can never say that if you're scoring high on a design paper, it means you are going to be a designer in the future or you're going to be great. It's just the first step. And this exam only helps you to get to a university, but then in the university, it's all on you because, you are 18-year-old kids. No one can teach you how to design. It's all about you. But what a teacher does in your life is to keep you motivated, to support you throughout the journey, because that's what every student wants. No one wants a teacher who just finishes syllabus or just finishes the topic of the book in time and keeps taking tests. That's not how it works, and designing definitely doesn't work like that because there is absolutely no theory in design. It's fully practical, and that's what makes designing a very, very different field and a very, very booming industry. And this is something which is going to be the future of the world. Now, to make sure that the students actually develop interest in this and understand the core essence of the subject, a teacher should be there who is supporting the child instead of just pressurizing the kid with a lot of assignments or just finishing the syllabus or just making sure that the kid scores in the exam. So I believe that's one thing that definitely sort of made this teacher unique for me. So his subject knowledge was broad, not just restricted. He used to think beyond. He used to think about every example in every walks of life. So, we used to get like a real life experience, We were not just associating stuff with whatever we see in books. We were associating things, with things what we see every day. If I'm sitting on a chair, he would associate stuff with my chair, with my laptop, whatever I use. So it was fun learning like that instead of just, following what other people say or what other people use as their examples. We were creating examples of our own. And I think this makes our concept stronger.
Wow. After hearing so much about your teacher, I really want to put this question in front of you. That according to you, what is the definition of a teacher? What are the qualities? What are the things you see in a teacher? This question is not just for an institute or for design industry. This question is for this entire nation. For every teacher, they need to know that what is the definition of a teacher from a child's point of view.
Alright, so most of the people, actually all of us are used to the school system wherein we just come into classrooms, we have got subjects and we have got different subject teachers who cover stuff. So as a kid, I never really knew that, does a teacher have anything else, another job apart from teaching? Is there something else? And as a kid, I never really understood. But as I grew up, I realized, especially after meeting Mitesh sir, that a teacher can be more than that. In fact, a teacher should be more than that, because I realized that, for example, in my school in 11th grade, a lot of students they used to like a specific subject, but I realized that the moment the teacher was not good, they started hating the subject. That's what's the point from when I realized that it's not about what the subject is, it's about who is teaching you, who is actually making you learn the subject. Because in our life, apart from our parents, there has to be someone else to support us, because our parents can support us as their children, as their family member. They can guide us at home or probably when we go out with them, but a teacher is someone who knows us as someone who is in school, who is in the work area. So both of these people have a very, very different role, and I think all of us think that our parents know us the best, but I think that's wrong. Even whatever our teachers know about us might be something that's totally foreign to our parents, because as I said, our parents only know us how we are at home or how we are in front of them, but they might never know how we are in school or how we are with our friends, right? So even our friends and our teachers know who we are from a very, very different perspective, in a very, very different situation, and that's what makes them important in our life. Otherwise, why do we even need friends or teachers? We can just live with our parents, right? We can just live with our family. Why do we treat our friends and our teachers as family? Because they know us from a very, very different point of view, which is essential. So the fact that a teacher knows you as a student or as someone who is in the work area makes it even more important for your teacher to understand you and to earn your trust. Because a student cannot just learn from any person or from any teacher. A student can learn from a teacher only if the student trusts this teacher, and trust is not something which you can just magically hand over to someone, right? It is earned, and trust breeds trust. You have to give it to get it. So if a teacher gives his trust to his child, to his teacher, to his student, a student will slowly start trusting the teacher as well, And once you start trusting someone, you start being more open and more comfortable with the person. And that's when the teaching process, starts. Because now that you're open with the teacher, you are comfortable with the teacher, you'll be able to absorb more. You'll be able to get inspired more. So I believe that teaching is not just about, covering what you know, or not just giving away your knowledge just like that. It's about making sure that the student actually feels you, actually feels the importance of your knowledge, and gets inspired by whatever you teach, and make them involved in your subject. So for me, this is the definition of a true teacher.
Okay, so this question is very important. We wanted to know, do you still remember your first day of design class at My Colors Institute of Visual Arts? It can be a demo class or it can be a normal class. Just wanted to know, do you still remember?
Alright, so like my first day was not exactly official, so I decided to first have a talk with the teacher at my color. So I had a talk with Mitesh Pradhan. So, just to get the idea about, who is going to be teaching me, if at all I join. So on the very first day, we had a very, pep talk about, alright, how are you, what do you do in free time, just to get to know each other. Then, on that very first day, I was a bit tensed because, it was like I had a lot of doubts in some of my concepts because, it was the beginning of my 12th year. And we all know in the beginning of 12th year, everyone is confused, everyone is under pressure that you're supposed to handle so much. So that day I was full of questions, and I just wanted to, sort of ask all the questions right there. I was this close to literally just, blurting out all of my questions on him. But then, the way he spoke to me, and, the way he, made me feel while we spoke, and we were just on phone, we were not even face to face. But, he made me feel that anything is possible in life, and nothing, is easy at first. No one starts out perfect, and, all we have to do is keep learning and keep growing, because no one can know everything from the very beginning, and difficulties are bound to happen, and that's what, makes you stronger. So he made me believe that even if I have a doubt, even if I don't know something, if I actually try to do it, making sure that I am happy and I'm confident that yes, I can do it, every doubt will be solved automatically. So, half of the question is solved the moment you realize that, okay, fine, I can do it. So I believe that very first class was like an eye opener for me. And I realized that solving a question is not just about giving the answer directly. It's also about believing in the fact that, every problem has got a solution. A problem is created to be given a solution to. Do you have a question paper in this world which does not have an answer key? Everyone has got an answer to every question. The answers might differ you, but you still have an answer, right? And I never knew that. I never thought about it in this way. I always I was someone who thought that, okay, fine, here's the question, here's the answer. But then from that day I realized that, okay, fine, there's a question, but it can be cracked in so many ways, and that's what makes it even more amazing. So from that day I started having fun solving questions or even asking questions to people. So instead of taking it as a burden that I've got questions, I took it as a strength that, asking questions makes me, more knowledgeable, makes me know more, and, makes me feel more involved in my subject. So I think that, that first class was very, very important for me, and it definitely helped me to, continue with my field of interest.
Kinshuk, how much did you score in class 10?
So in class 10, my overall score was 98%, and I got a full score in math.
And how much did you score in class 12th?
In class 12th, I got 97.6% aggregate.
Wow, that means you were already too good in academics. And because of pandemic, all these design classes switched to online platform. So Kinshuk, that means your entire course syllabus was covered online. But I have heard people saying that learning design or art, it is not possible online. They always prefer physical classrooms. So did you face any challenge or any problem, any obstacle when you were doing this course online? Did you face any?
Well, the thing is, initially I didn't really know how, what exactly do we do in design training. So initially I was like, it's going to be impossible. I'm probably going to forget what's going on, or I won't be able to understand things. But, I think that online classes can be very, very effective if they are handled correctly, because there's no limitation on the online platform. If you ask me, if you've got all the equipments right, if you've got a good teacher, someone who has got technical skills, if you've got cameras, and everything is set, and the very most important thing, the students are actually interested in the subject, I think it's a success on its own. But the challenges, if you ask me, initially, first of all, I've never been interested in electronics from childhood, and I've never really spent time on screen. So till 10th, I was, always on my books, writing, paper pen method. And suddenly, even 11th, it was normal for me. Suddenly from 12th, first of all, it's a board year. Second, I need to give an entrance exam. Third, it's online again. So three piles on my head so I thought that it's going to be really, really difficult. And initially there were difficulties because number one, I didn't know how to handle Zoom. How do you join a meeting? How do you make sure that, your camera isn't on? How do you, handle your microphone and all? How do you work parallelly with the teacher saying something and you taking notes and all? So in school, I was still able to take notes, but in designing, you don't have theory. As I said, it's fully practical. So all you have to do is listen, but at the same time, you have to grasp also the knowledge that you are getting there. You still get assignments. You need to make sure you submit those assignments also. Either you click a picture to submit, or you need to upload it if you're on Teams or anything. So, and for someone like me who anyways hates technology, I would say it was really a tough thing to do at the initial level. But again, in my colors, I could easily just call my teacher and ask him how do I upload this, or how do I send this, or how do I crop this. So I was getting clear instructions from there as to what to do. So I think it was just a matter of few weeks when I was having difficulty. But later, when there was someone to clear my doubts as to how to do it, I think it became pretty easy. You just need someone to guide you through the online platform. But I think limitation wise, there is no limitation if you have got everything set.
So now finally you are in NID. After a lot of challenges, lot of problem, you were able to make your way, and you'll be doing this 4-year course. Nowadays, many students, they still don't know what is design. They don't know what is the career in design. We want to enlighten this topic according to your view. What is design?
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I would like to say that almost most of the people that I've met, they don't understand that designing is a totally different field of its own. It's not same as fine arts. People usually think designing is fine arts, but those two are different. And if you look upon net, or even if you look at the current trends, designing is something that is becoming a trend these days. So as a designer, it's not like you're just going to be a designer. Designers can work in any field. They can work with software, they can work with any sort of investigation teams, in fact, because designers have got this mind of thinking out of the box. And these days, out of the box thinking, innovation, and all these hacks about AI, and merging AI with creativity and software is becoming very common. But in order to pull this off, you need people in your organization who have got that kind of a mindset to think beyond. You need to have a diversity of thoughts and mindsets. You need to have a diversity of perspectives. Only then you can come up with the best possible solution, because a designer is not just someone who gives creative solutions. A designer is also someone who frames the problem correctly. And in every field, be it medical, be it software, be it any mechanical engineering, or be it law, in all of these fields, some way or the other, in the end, we are giving solution to a problem. We are trying to help out our client. We are trying to, get a best possible solution. But if we talk to these organizations personally, what they will say is that whenever we come across a problem, we just think about the solution, which is not wrong, which is correct. But they tend to forget, are we addressing the right problem or not? Because framing a problem is equally important as compared to finding an answer. Because if your problem is not correctly framed, how will you come up with the best solution? So I would say that designing is a field which is needed, which is in demand. It is the future of this world, and I think that if designing is not, if it does not exist in this world, we won't have any inventions in this world. And this world won't become, an interesting place to live in. Everything will be followed by rules. You would have protocols. You won't be able to think beyond. You will be just restricted, or, sort of bound in a shell. You will never be able to break through. And I think every person out there wants to be in a field where they can give their inputs. And designing is a field that encourages you to give your inputs in the rawest form. Alright, you are not going to be judged, you are not going to be manipulated by anyone. You can give your input directly. You can imagine your own world, you can portray it, you can represent it, and you can make people understand that it's also a possibility. If we talk about the past, about many inventions, for example the aeroplane, years ago who thought that we would actually travel in the air? If like if someone at that time, before the airplane was invented, would have come up with the thought that okay fine, let's make a vehicle where we can fly in mid-air, people would probably call him crazy, right? Because yeah, initially at that point it might not be possible. But look at us today. It is actually possible. We actually fly in mid-air across countries, across the globe. We even, travel in the rocket or in a space shuttle onto different planets. Who thought about this? We never thought that we could actually step out of our planet itself and step a foot on the moon or get close to other stars, or even knowing the fact that sun is not the only star. We have got so many stars in this universe, right? So someone out there in the past thought about a possibility. Thinking about a possibility is the very first step towards coming up with anything. If you don't think, how will you invent? How will you make it possible? How will you make your dream a reality? Dreaming is a necessity, and designing is a field that encourages you to dream big, to look beyond, to look ahead of yourself, and not just stick to your old beliefs or stick to the present. It gives you a chance to build your future. And I think that's amazing about this field. And I don't think there's any limitation in your career prospects in this field. I think it will make you a very the most amazing version of yourself in the future, and I think it will make you happy lifelong.
Kinshuk, there are so many institutes in India which are teaching design, but you experienced at My Colors Institute of Visual Arts. What is your recommendation to others when it comes to preparation of NID, IIT, NIFT, CEED, U-CEED or MIT, so specifically for Bachelors of Design or Masters of Design? Like, how you think that My Colors Institute of Visual Art is totally different from other institutes?
Alright, so first of all, as I said in one of my previous answers, most of the education system in our country and even across the world has become a business now. All people or all the teachers in institutions aim to just earn money or just to make sure that students from the institution get good scores in the entrance exam. Most of the institutions. I would say My Colors is an exception to that, because the type of environment you get in this institution is not something that sort of forces you to just score in exams. The teachers in this institution, like I have been taught only by one teacher, like most of the time, Mitesh sir. He never told me that you are supposed to score this much in a certain test. He never treated design as a test. In fact, he used to tell me that designing के ऊपर entrance exam doesn't make sense, because you can't measure someone's aptitude by just taking an entrance test. But if you want to get give people admission to an institution, you need to take some level of aptitude test, just to see what their potential is. And most of the institutions just give you mock test, and this is the the experience which I've got from some of my friends who have been into other coaching institutions. So they are just given assignments, tons of assignments. Their doubts are not cleared. They are just given assignments. They are just given some mock tests to solve and submit, and then they are just graded. So yeah, they do assignments, they do mock tests, they might score well also, but they don't feel the subject itself. I mean, they don't feel like they are truly involved in design. So if you are made to believe from the very beginning that designing is all about giving entrance exams or clearing exams or just designing stuff and showing it to people and they judging your design, then I think that's something very wrong in the overall foundation of the design teaching process overall. Because designing has to be something which comes from within. No one can tell you that okay fine, your design is correct or your design is wrong, but in institutions this is exactly what happens. But in My Colors, you are taught to go beyond. This is the very first line that my teacher told me on the very first day of my class, and that's why I remember it. And I think that's true, because most of the institutions are mostly like, okay fine, there's going to be an examiner who is going to check your paper, so you have to do this, you have to do that, so that you get more score. But this guy never told me that okay fine, there's going to be an examiner who will check your paper, so you have to do this to get a good score. He always told me, be yourself, be creative, think out of the box. Don't think about what others are going to say. Don't think about what others are going to think of you when you design something. Just be yourself and be confident about it. And I don't think this kind of teaching is something that's really promoted in, a lot of institutions, because they always stick to the book, as I said earlier. And I think this is what makes learning at My Colors, very, very different and, very, very sort of entertaining compared to any other institution. I've seen so many students sitting in My Colors classes, they never get bored. The class is always interactive, people talk, people ask. No one hesitates to ask a doubt, or no one hesitates to answer a question. It's not always the teacher who answers the question, sometimes even students clear each other's doubts. So there is a set of, collaborative learning, there's a positive environment, there's an environment of unity. So it's not like, a race where students are competing with one another. It's more of a collaborative learning. And even when we, do a job in the future, we are going to be working with people. So developing these skills of working with others, taking others' inputs, not just thinking about yourself, but thinking from a very group point of view, is something that's, unique to My Colors. And, I'm thankful that I got this skill from this institution, and I'm pretty sure if I was in some other institution, I would have never known about this possibility of learning.
Kinshuk, what was your experience about the physical exams which happened at My Colors main branch, where you entered and you gave exam as it is, the way it is conducted in MIT, NID, IIT, NID, all the design colleges. Like, you have been there, right? So we would like to know your experience.
Yes, I have been to 2 of their physical exams.
Okay, so does it help you?
Yes, I think it does, because first of all, the reason why My Colors did a physical exam in middle of the pandemic was because our government level entrance exam, both NID and NIFT, happened physically. And a lot of institutions, I think, probably just send their kids directly into these government exams without getting any physical experience. But I believe that before going for any exam, especially physical, you need to have an idea about the overall environment in an examination hall. Because you have a time limit, you are not sitting in your house, you are actually sitting in an examination room. You don't have your own system with you, you have an answer sheet in front of you. So you need to have an idea as to how, the overall environment is. And time management is very, very important when it comes to giving physical exams. You need to make sure you are attentive. You need to listen to the instructions carefully, which is something that's not possible on online platform, because on online everyone is on speaker. But in the examination hall, there are so many students with you, sitting in one classroom. So developing that, mindset that, okay, fine, you are going to be sitting in an examination hall with other students who are going to be giving exam alongside you. There are going to be invigilators right in front of you. There's going to be a blackboard where the time slot is fixed and the paper will be just snatched from you the moment time is up. I think we definitely need some experience before we step into this, this war zone, I would say, because it's, all these exams are competitive. You need to make sure you are in your best, mental state so that you're able to perform to your full potential. So in My Colors, we had 2 physical exams. So we were called to the center, but before being called to the center, we were given straight instructions that, you're supposed to report at this time, the paper will start at this time, you are not supposed to carry anything except for your stationery. Then, we were given all the location of the center and everything. So we were, given this kind of a seriousness. Okay, fine, you are going to come to our examination center for sure on this date at this time sharp, or else you won't be able, you won't be allowed to give an exam. Very similar to how government exams work. You step into the center, if you are late, you miss the exam. So I think that was very, very helpful. It made me feel less anxious before my NID entrance exam, because, I was scared, like suddenly stepping out of my house directly into a government exam is not something that I really look forward to, especially after sitting at home for almost half a year, before my government exam. So I think, definitely, a lot.
आपकी इस जर्नी में ऐसे बहुत लोग आए होंगे जिन्होंने आपको डिसीव करने की कोशिश की होगी, आपके क्वेश्चंस का आंसर अलग दिया होगा, या कुछ लाइक समथिंग डिफरेंट, कुछ अलग ज़रूर हुआ होगा आपके साथ कि ये नहीं ये बन जाओ, ये नहीं ये बन जाओ. तो what did help you to stay in your design kind of mentality, and what schedule did you follow to achieve it?
Okay, so to answer the first question, I think it was my passion and my love for the field that forced me to stay on my track and not just get deviated by what others are saying. Because I noticed that most of the people who were suggesting me to change my field were themselves not from the design field. So I knew for a fact that these guys don't really know what design is, first of all. So all those people who told me that, you should probably take a different field, I gave them an assignment that, okay, fine, first you research on the field of design. And once you research on design and once you get to know what design is, then you tell me again, what do you think? Should I change it or should I not change it? And most of them didn't even come back to me after that. So I'm assuming that they realized that this field, is nothing less. In fact, this field is, I think, for me, it's the best possible field for me. Because, all those people knew that I'm someone who knows herself the best, since my childhood, I've always been stubborn and I always follow my own rules. I never really listen to people that easily unless I'm sure that, these guys are saying the right thing. So I would say this mindset of mine of, following my own passion, listening to my heart and not to what other people say, made me stay. And I'm grateful, Like I used to get demotivated sometimes that, is there something really wrong in the field that so many people are coming to me saying that you should change the field? But, there were so many people in my life who always reminded me that you have made the best possible decision in your life. And I could see that, because I was doing so well in this field and it used to make me truly happy. And I always wanted to be in the field that made me happy. So I knew for a fact that my decision is definitely not wrong. I've taken the right choice. I just wanted people, who support me. And I had people who supported me. I had my parents. I had, my teacher at my colors, and I had some of my friends who were supporting me because they knew me. They knew that I love creativity, and even though I might be good at academics, it's not my passion. So all those people who truly understood me, they always supported me. So apart from my own personal drive to be in the field, it was also about the support I got from the people who really understood me. So I think that's the reason why I stayed in design, despite all those comments. Now the second part, the schedule. Well, in 12th, my schedule was pretty messy, pretty reckless because, we all know in 12th we have got like pressure of, handling our school exams, then handling our, coaching classes, then handling our entrance exam dates and the application and applying to private colleges if we want to. So I would say initially I was pretty normal. I was able to handle everything. But once the entrance exam started coming close or the dates started coming up, there was a bit of pressure. So I used to follow a schedule of, dividing my time equally. So during the weekdays, I used to focus on my classes. I used to attend all my classes and, keep up with my assignments accordingly. And if I talk about my self-study, I used to take out time in the night because, as I said in my introduction, I'm a night person. So, I used to take advantage of the fact that I was able to stay up for long at night to cover up everything. And if I talk about designing, in designing you don't really have to, train yourself every day. Like most of the people say that you're supposed to sketch every day for designing, but sketching is a very, very small part. It's like some sort of a one marble in the entire game of design. So sketching is just one part of it. It doesn't mean that you keep sketching every day. That's not how it is. I didn't do that. I just made sure that I keep observing things around me because I was anyways at home, but I was still stepping out some time to just, have a look around. So for designing, you don't really need any, sort of theory preparation or anything unlike school. So I wasn't really pressurized for design preparation at all, honestly. It was just the entrance exam that sort of pressurized me, thinking about the date coming close. So the managing part isn't really hard. All you have to do is make sure that you utilize your time well and, make sure you prioritize right. Because in 12th, most of the people just try doing everything. But let's just face it, we are humans, we are not machines. We can't do everything, right? We have to, set an order, a priority order and hierarchy. That, our first level priority is to prepare for an entrance exam. For example, for me, entrance preparation was the first priority. My second priority was preparing for my board exams. Then my third priority was being into extracurriculars, spending time doing sports. And focusing on my mental and physical health was like my top priority. That's like the basic thing which I always took care of. So since I prioritized like that, I knew that apart from school, my entrance preparation, preparing for design, which I'll be pursuing in the future, is the most important. Now since I had a priority order, for me managing stuff was pretty easy because I knew what I have to do first. So I think that's the best way to, make a schedule for yourself because there's no fixed schedule to manage stuff in 12th. It's personal to you. Nothing is right, nothing is wrong about a schedule. It's just, it should be something that's comfortable to you and it should not deteriorate your health in any way. You have to be healthy throughout the year, and make sure you are in the best mental and physical state while you're giving the exam. So, yeah, I would say that should be the best way to deal with this.
All right. Thank you so much, Kinshuk, for encouraging others and sharing your experience. It was a beautiful time with you. We wish you all the best for your future and hope to see you again very soon.
Sure,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, sir.